Boy Kills World is a film that Ewan finally caught up with that I saw a few weeks ago in cinemas, coming from the mind of Moritz Muir. Butchering his name, I do apologize. When his family is murdered, a deaf mute named Boy escapes to the jungle and is trained by a mysterious shaman to represent his childish imagination and becomes an instrument of death. Stars Bill Skarsgård, Jessica Roth, and Michelle Dockery. Ewan, I would love to hear what you think about this film, because you were super excited for it.
Well, I feel like you're getting stuff twisted there. I remember us having a look at the trailer, and I already had my reservations about does this work, because this movie has Bill Skarsgård as, I guess, Boy. It's really the name that they went with, trying to stay as simple as possible on this. A guy who has trauma in his past stays boy-like, although he ends up being very violent because he's trained that way. And he has like a movie trailer voice from the 2010s in his head that's narrating what he's thinking, because he can't speak. He's also deaf. I appreciated some of the action in this, and then it usually even fumbled the action, in my opinion, because it stayed on it too long. It didn't use like just the best beats, but it had that, like, it just wanted to stay longer and do more, and then towards the end there, it wants to have like a big plot revelation. And I feel like at the core, this movie was just such a mess, and a lot of it felt like an afterthought of adding voice lines. Maybe they noticed, oh, it's very quiet. I assume they always had planned the lines that they're going to say in his mind before. It just didn't come together for me, and I thought this movie was trying to be funny, and it was very unfunny. The action was one of the redeeming parts of it, but even that didn't blow me away. And yeah, overall, it's just like a pretty disappointing product that could have been quite interesting. But Lachlan, you loved it though.
Yeah, I loved it so much that I gave it 1.5 stars. I loved it to the point that I could not love it anymore. Like a child who commits sin. I have no idea.
And then you have to train it into a death machine.
Then you have to train it into a death machine. Look, this film, I agree, has a lot of potential. There's a lot of really fun, exciting ideas, unique ideas that are unfortunately not. It feels like he hasn't been told no. It feels like the director has been told yes to every idea, and every single other person who came up with an idea, they also went, yes, you may also get to do that as well. And then they were like, hey, I have an idea here. And they're like, yes, we can do that as well. And the problem is, too much of something is bad for you. That is a fact, right? Water, very important thing. Too much water, you die, right? Food, very important thing. Too much food, you die, right? Shelter. You need shelter. If you have too much, I don't know, that one doesn't work as well. But same thing with this. The action is just too much all the time. What's his name? Really funny thing. I kept calling him L. Ron Hubbard instead of what's his name? R.H. Benjamin. What's his name? H. John Benjamin, right? H. John Benjamin, who's the voice. He does Bob's Burgers, Archer, all that jazz. Yeah. Right. He's the voice of Boy, right? I kept calling him L. Ron Hubbard for whatever reason, right? Because his name is H. John Benjamin. L. Ron Hubbard was the founder of Scientology, which I found really funny because I kept saying his name instead of H. John Benjamin's when I was trying to quote. I'll be like, oh yeah, it's got that guy. And they're like, who's this guy? And I was like, no, from Archer. And they're like, you mean H. John Benjamin? I was like, yeah, that's the way I said, right? Like, you said L. Ron Hubbard. And I was like, oh, that's embarrassing. But this film is just too much all the time. It's in your face. It's too over the top. It's too crazy. It's too much action. It's too much everything, and that is unfortunately its biggest downfall. In my Letterboxd review, I watched it the same week as I watched Fall Guy, which I think did action and story better, and I also watched Rebel Moon Part 2 Scargiver, which did everything worse, which is why I gave Boy Kills World 1.5 stars.
I also gave it 1.5 stars. One thing that I do want to mention here is that you have someone like Yayan Rurian, who, by the way, sorry for our pronunciations in all of our reviews ever. But he was in the Raid films. He was a standout in those. He was in the third John Wick film. He's like one of the two that goes up against him, I think, on the like level 3 or 4 of the like staircase fight there. Epic fights, like amazing stunt artist and martial artist. And it was obvious that like he needs to have some kind of fight scene. If it didn't get like a bigger thing with him, it would have been such a waste. And that scene, I feel like, is one of the highlights. Like I would rate this movie even lower if there wasn't that scene with him where they fight towards the end there. And but even that scene, like I said, is goes on for too long. There's too many like stabs and fights, and it gets too brutal for it to keep going. Although maybe that seemed a bit more realistic that they end up cutting each other, but it doesn't overall find its tone well. Like how brutal it wants to get, how serious it wants to stay, like what this world even is that they're like born into. The twist is really dumb, and I still don't really get how that fully makes sense. It just like it's pretty dumb overall, and you need to have dumb fun to justify dumb. Ultimately, I feel like this movie's just dumb. So yeah, 1.5 star for me as well.